you really bake bread in 40 minutes from scratch? Conventional wisdom says you probably need an hour and a half to 2 hours to make bread starting from zip, and that's if you're just doing a bog standard loaf, let alone if you're doing a sourdough or an overnight prove or a Dutch oven type slow cooker bread. But I've made bread dozens and dozens of times, and each time you bring everything together, knead it for 10 minutes, leave it to proof for maybe an hour, shape it, leave it to prove again for maybe another 30 minutes, then bake, then rest, then eat. I was browsing Reddit the other day and came across a recipe that suggested you could get bread from scratch in 40 minutes. So I went off in a rabbit hole looking for the source of this recipe. I think I found it here at Taste of Home, not a site I'm familiar with, but sure enough, there it is, 40-minute hamburger buns. So this recipe has 423 ratings and is about 4.5 stars out of 5. I've tried clicking on the ratings, but it doesn't go anywhere. So I don't know who's rating these. I'm just browsing now to have another look. Reviews. It just scrolls to an area that doesn't exist. Don't know. So I thought, now there's something to try. So we start as always by dissolving yeast into water, then adding oil and sugar, quite a lot of oil and quite a lot of sugar, but there you go. And then adding an egg, salt and flour. And then trying to knead until smooth and elastic. Their video assumes there, look, it comes all together beautifully like any other dough, but mine is getting very, very sticky and I'm having to add maybe another 50% of the quantity of flour again till it gets anything like workable. So after kneading for the maximum suggested 5 minutes, we then shape into 12 balls, leave on a greased sheet to rest for a further 10 minutes. So these have had 10 minutes resting. They're not the most perfect spheres on earth, but now it suggests to bake for 8 to 12 minutes. Let's find out what happens. I'm not confident. Mine have had 18, let me show you. Stodgy little dough balls, kind of soft. They kind of remind me of scones. They're well cooked underneath where they've had butter, but they are going to go hard and dry out before they get completely soft. Now, you should rest them on a rack for 10 minutes at least. But I'm going to cut one open now, which is not entirely fair, but let's see what's going on. Spongy. Just spongy. The yeast hasn't had time to do its work, and the recipe states all-purpose flour. We don't have all-purpose flour in the UK, so I used plain flour, which is relatively low in gluten. I would usually use a strong flour because it has a high gluten content. Oh, okay. I can definitely taste all the sugar that went in there. I genuinely taste like an English scone. It's so sweet. It's absurd. I don't know where these 420 odd ratings come from that say, well, it's a brilliant recipe. It's clearly undercooked in some parts as well. It is going to burn before it finishes cooking on the inside. I do not understand it at all. I think I'm going to file that one under failure. Good bread, takes time. More than 40 minutes. To be blunt, you just can't hurry bread. But if you want burger buns, here's another way you can do it fairly quickly in about an hour. So you combine warm milk, water and butter. I'll put all the ingredients below. With flour and yeast, salt and sugar. Mix it well and knead on a floured surface until springy. This will take about 10 minutes. It just will. You can do this in a stand mixer as well and probably shave 3 or 4 minutes off that time. But you're looking for a nice, loose, plasticine modelling clay type dough where it's got plenty of bounce to it. Shape this into rounds, cover with something damp, perhaps a tea towel or more paper as I'm doing here, and leave it to rise in a warm place for a good 45 minutes. It needs that time to expand, for the yeast to do its work, for the flour to stretch. Then bake in a hot oven about 200 degrees C until golden brown. These will take 10 to 12 minutes. So I cut open the last one while it was still warm, so I think it's only fair I do it with these guys as well. Let's take a look. And there we go. Still got steam coming off there, as you can see. Fairly close crumb texture, but much looser because it's had time to relax, because it's had time for the yeast to do its work. And they will be perfect for a lunchtime snack, to pop in a hamburger, or as I've also done, I've made them longer for some hot dogs later on. I'm just going to try a bit as is. And it's worlds apart. Got nice, loose, fluffy bread that will give you an excellent little sandwich. So really, there is no shortcut. Just give it time, plan ahead, do it properly. You get it much more satisfying, much more enjoyable. If you've got any quick ways to make bread, any shortcuts, I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. Please let me know.